when you see the two A's together in this writing system of Sm'algya, this is the long A sound. It's ah, ah. It rhymes with wah, like a baby crying. Sometimes in English readers, or even in Tlingit and Haida, they say "aw" when they see that. And so in this part of the country, it can be really difficult for people who know other languages to adapt to this. So when I say Wilma Dissy Baines Wanadi Noyu, I'm saying Dissy was my mother. And it specifically says was my mother's name. I say Wana, Wana. We want to emphasize that ah sound because this is very Sm'algya. And also when you see these vowel sounds together like that, you kind of place a little emphasis on that. And we'll talk more about emphasis in a little bit, but for now, let's pay attention to these two A's, ah, ah. And then when we see two O's together in Sm'algya in this writing system, again, our brains want to go, ooh, because of English, but this is O, rhymes with boat, O, O. So the two O's, and again, also when you see the two vowels, you can drag them out just a little bit. They last just slightly longer than the O by itself or the A. Of course, you don't want to be comical about it, but let's pay attention to that when you hear those sounds. When we have the two E's together, similarly in English, we want to say E, but this is the A sound. A, rhymes with the fawns, hey, A. And I'm going to step away for just a minute and I have to open the door.
You just said that the A sounded like Fonzie from Happy Days.
So that was cool that somebody recognized the fawns besides me. Waiwa. All right, the next unique sound that we're going to run into in this document is called a unvoiced L or voiceless L. And it's represented in a couple of different ways. In this document, we're going to be looking at this barred L. And it looks like a L or a T that's maybe had a couple too many. It's a little lopsided there. So that's our barred L. And in the Alaskan writing system and in some other languages too, this HL represents that same sound. And what that means is by an unvoiced L, it's like, so this voiceless L, the reason it's called a voiceless L or an unvoiced L is your mouth is about ready to say L, like in English. Oh, your tongue is up behind your top teeth, your top front teeth, like you're gonna go ooh, loud. But instead of going ooh, when your tongue is there, you just blow some air out the sides of your mouth through your tongue. Sounds a little bit cat hissy maybe. And this is an important one because it occurs a lot in Sm'algya. So this is a good one to get your mouth used to. This is the barred L. Okay, the next one, vowel we're going to be seeing a lot in these words is the underlined A, or sometimes called the back A. When you're reading Sm'algya in this writing system, this underlined A is going to tell you the A sound is a little bit different than the other A's. Earlier, we talked about the long A sound, the ah, but this time, this underlined A represents kind of a sound, And then the next letter we're going to see is the underlined G, or also referred to as a back G. And this very similar to how you might use G in English, growl, but it's a little more further back in your throat, and there's almost there's a thing happening in the back of your throat. It's a bit further back in your throat, and it's bah, bah. Like in Raven, we say bah, bah, instead of gach, like the gach, like the kids' gooey stuff, gach, bah, bah. Oh, and I guess I don't remember there's probably an X in here somewhere, but I didn't make note of it. So if you see an X, just a plain old X in this document, it's not like in Fox, but it's again, it's a little further back in your throat. It's kind of, oh, that's our X sound. So when we first started this group, it was so that we could use our language together. And so that means we want you to use your language. This is what that was what we're founded for. Why, Shladim Sitatmim. Let's we're about to start. Okay. So the very first word that we should all know is, how do you say yes? Oh. Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. In this case, the A and the Y together constitute a sound by itself. And this is I. The AY say I. In this case, we're saying ein. Ein.
Ein. Ein.
Ein. Ein.
Ein. Ein.
Ein. Ein.
Ein.
Ein.
Ein.
Ein.
Ein.
In some Alaskan towns, you might hear ayin. Ayin. It almost has like another syllable. We generally say ayin, but you might also hear ayin. It's always good to know how to say something's good. And we talked about the double A sound. Am.
Am. Am.
Am. Am.
Am. Am.
Am. Am.
Am.
Am.
Am.
Am.
Am.
I'm not happy with just saying good. I want to say very good, really good. We say local am. All right, local am.
Look what am. Look what am.
Local am. Local am.
Look will am. Look will am.
Look will am. Look will am.
Look will am.
Look what am, Simpson.
Look, well, am.
Look what am.
Look will am.
Local am. Okay, so I'll make a comment. Earlier, you heard me when I was trying to give you an example, I said logo, and it sounded like I used G sounds, and there wasn't a stop. And that's because that's what I heard growing up. You might hear some of our older speakers say it that way. And it's right, it's correct, because that's what people said to each other. That was the Sm'algya I grew up hearing. So when I'm trying to speak to others and teach, I will keep going back to this Lukwil because it's the most commonly recognized, but you might hear me in casual conversation say Lugo. I think the walking video we did this week, I said it, and that's just the way I grew up hearing it. So I will teach you Lukwil, but you're probably gonna hear me say Lugo. Maybe we're not Lukwil am today. Maybe we're not good today. So here's that barred L that I was talking about. The sound. And it's worth noting that you might not always hear that barred L in this phrase. And this is a phrase because this is more than one word. This isn't just good or not. This is not good. Ashkadi am. Ashkadi am. And I say that you might not always hear the barred L because in some accents or some regions, you might just hear akadi am. Akadi am means the same thing. It's just another way to pronounce it. Ashkadi am.
Akri am. Akri am.
Achkadi am. Achkadi am.
Askity am. Askity am.
Askri am. Askri am.
Achkadi am.
Askity
Ashkadi am.
Akri am.
Askity am.
Oh man, and Simpson. And so now when you see somebody that you haven't seen for a little bit, or you start a Zoom call with them, or heaven forbid, talk on the telephone, you can say, how are you? And this is Inda Willa Wan. Inda Willa Wan.
Inda Willawan. Inda Willawan.
And that will I win. And that will I win.
Nda willawan. Nda willawan.
Inda Willawan. Inda Willawan.
And that will I win.
and Duh Willawan.
Nda Willawan.
Inda Willawan.
Nda willawan.
Okay, so you might hear me say this in class frequently. If somebody does good, I'll say, am Zebin. Am Zebin. This is good job. You did good. Good work. And it says down here to one person. This is what I say if I'm talking to just one person or our singular statement and telling somebody in particular, am Zebin. Lila.
Am Zubin. Am Zubin.
Am Zabin. Am Zabin.
Am zubbin. Am zubbin.
Am Zubin. Am Zubin.
Am seven. Am seven.
Am Seven.
Am Zubin.
Am Zubin.
Am zubbin.
Oh, and Dubson, good job, everybody. This is good job to all of you. This is our plural. So earlier we said good job to one person. This time where we said am Zubin and it ends with the N, we say Dubsum that ends with his SM. This is your indication that I am talking to a plural, to more than one person. Am Dubsum. Am Dubsum.
Am Zubsum. Am Zubsum.
Am Zabson. Am Zabson.
Am zubson. Am zubson.
Am subsum. Am subsum.
Am Subson. Am Subsum.
Amception. Amception.
Amzubsum.
Am subsum.
Am zubsum.
am subsum. Okay, another thing that you might hear us using commonly in this group, if you say something that is correct or right, you'll hear us say hoyach, hoyach. And this has the underlying A I was telling you about. That's a sound, and then the X, which is a hoyach, hoyach.
Hoya. Hoya.
Oyach, oyach.
Hoyach. Hoyach.
Hoyach. Hoyach.
Hoya. Hoya.
Hoyach. Hoyach.
Hoyach.
Hoya.
Hoyach.
We might also say it a different way where I'm responding to one person. And again, it ends with this N sound. So this tells you that I am speaking to one other person. We still have that underline A, the sound, but this time we've changed that X from hoyach. Because we're using hoyach in a sentence or a phrase, if you will, even though it still looks like one word, the addition of the N makes it a phrase. So I'm saying, you're right, you're correct. Instead of hoyach, we say hoyagan, hoyagan. Well,
Hoyagan. Hoyagan.
Oyagan, oyagan.
Hoyagan. Hoyagan.
Hoyagan. Hoyagan.
Hoyagan. Hoyagan.
Hoy again. Hoy again.
Hoyagan.
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 right, this is one of my favorite things. Oh, this is what? This is a root word. It's usually, if you're going to use it in a question, it won't be by itself. If I hold up my mouse and I say, goyu gua, I'm saying, what is this? And the goyu tells you I'm asking you a question. But go, the root word, I have a question mark here, but it's also just used for a thing. So it could be a thing, or in this particular case, I use it as what. For instance, if I say, go use the zubin hokyun, and he's not doing much of anything, he might say, akiri go, nothing, no thing, I'm not doing anything. So go is a thing, things, but in this case, it's a root word for our what. And I say this a lot to if somebody wants my attention, or if I wasn't quite sure what they said, I might say, go, go.
Go. Go.
Go, go.
Go. Go.
Go. Go.
Go. Go.
Go. Go.
Go.
If I want to tell somebody, one person, to listen up, I'll say, amukshin, amukshin. We talked about it before, but we have this N at the end of amuksh, which is our root word for listen. This is me telling one other person, listen, amukshin. I want to tell one person, amukshin, amukshin, you listen up.
Amuksin. Amuksin.
Amuksan, amuksan.
Amukshan. Amukshan.
Amuksan. Amuksan.
Amukshan. Amukshan.
Amukshan. Amukshan.
Amukshan.
Amuksan.
Amuksin.
And I want to tell all of you all to listen up. So earlier we had this SM ending, And this tells you that I am speaking to more than one other person besides myself. Amukshasim, amukshasim, amukshasim.
Amuxism. Amuxism.
Amoxicillin, amoxicillin,
Amukshism. Amukshism.
Amuksishim. Amuksishim.
Amukshashim. Amukshashim.
Amukshishin, amukshishin,
Amukshism.
amuksism,
Amuxism.
And Dubsum, good job, everybody. And I see Nancy put something in the chat, and I'm glad she did, because I was gonna call on her anyways to talk about this. Now, through this process, you might hear a slight difference in the way some of us say, in particular here, the S sound. Nancy, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to mention, like, a lot of times, well, that was a good example. I use the SH more, like instead of skanis, you'll hear me say shkanish, and it's just a dialect difference, the Alaska orthography that I learned first, but we still understand each other, so it's all good.
Oh, Doix at noon, Nancy. So I said Doix at noon to her, which is, I'm saying, I thank you. And so I'm glad she brought that up, because you're going to hear that. And in fact, when I speak, you're going to hear a mixture from me, because I grew up as a child hearing a mukshishim with the SHs, but I've been learning and around other folks who use the amuxisim. And even though they sound slightly different to our ear, they, like Nancy said, they're both correct. They're just a regional difference. So you're going to hear that frequently among our group. So you might hear me say, "Cahown, cahown." And even though my Sm'algya phrase here is correct, I see I made an error in my translation. Can anybody tell me what was my error in my English translation?
Oh, isn't that you say it?
Oh, Hoya. Hoya again. And why is that? Why is it different?
Because the N at the end signals that you're talking to one person.
Hoya again. Am Zubin. So Barbara said, I really said you say it. Whereas what I wrote for my translation was say it. But that's a very good catch. So wow. Okay, Cahown.
Cahown.
cahown,
Cahown.
cahown,
Cahown.
cahown,
Cahown.
And Dubsum. If I want to tell you to say it again, I will say Gickhound. Gickhound.
Gickhound. Gickhound.
gig hound, gig hound,
Geek hound. Geek hound.
Geek hound. Geek hound.
Gackown. Gackown.
cahown, cahown,
Yickhound.
Yickhound.
cahown,
Gickhound.
And Dubsum. Right. So in my advanced age, sometimes my ears might not work as good as they once did. So I will say, we am hound. We am hound.
We am hound. We am hound.
we am hound, we am hound,
We am hound. We am hound.
We am hound. We am hound.
We am hound. We am hound.
We am hound.
We am hound.
We am hound.
And it's Epsom. Okay, and I didn't really talk about it, but I heard a lot of people doing it anyways. This apostrophe before we changes slightly the way we say this sound. And it starts a little bit more from the back of your throat as opposed to up by your teeth. So if I'm having fun on a roller coaster, I might say wee. Or if I want something a little bit bigger or louder, I'd say wee. And it starts a little more in the back of the throat, wee. So that's what that apostrophe means. It changes where you start that sound in your mouth. So now you want to know somebody's name. Nayu Diwan. Nayu Diwan. Nayu Diwan.
Now you Diwan. Now you Diwan.
Now you do when. Now you do when.
Nayu Diwan. Nayu Diwan.
Nayu Diwan. Nayu Diwan.
Nayu Diwan. Nayu Diwan.
Now you Diwan.
Nayu Diwan.
Now you Diwan.
Nayu Diwan.
And some. Okay, now that you've asked me what my name is, I'm going to tell you. Shigor Diwayu. Wiggy Alfie Diwayu. So we have this deep and then Wayu is for my name is Shigor Diwayu.
Bookings Diwayu. Bookings Diwayu.
Veronica Diwayu. Veronica Diwayu.
Pamela Diwayu. Pamela Diwayu.
Molly Diwayu. Molly Diwayu.
Manson Doga de Get Diwayu. Nancy Barnes Diwayu.
Godum Teban DYU. Ligi Victoria McCoy DYU.
Mike DYU.
Aluelskik DYU. Valley Not DYU.
Tom DYU.
And Thompson. Okay, so now I've asked you what your name is. So I want to know, where do you live? We start with Indeyu or where, and then this word here, Duggan. Duggan, we know what the N means because we've been talking about this all day long. This is me talking to one other person. So I'm asking one specific person this question. We have the DZ sound together, which even though it, in English it's 2 letters, but this is a Semitic sound. It's a Z sound, but it starts like you're going to say D. So we're saying Duggan, Duggan, and we want to be careful how many O's we're talking about here. Earlier, we talked about the 2 O's together and it makes an O sound. And we want to be careful that we're differentiating between the 1 O or the 2 O's. Duggan, because if I say Doggan, it means a whole different thing. So this is the reason we spend a lot of time just going over and over these pronunciations, because if you change a pronunciation for a letter, it can change the whole meaning of your sentence. Indeyu diwil Duggan. Indeyu diwil Duggan.
Indeu Diwil Zuggan. Indeu Diwil Zuggan.
Ndeyu Diwil Zogan. Ndeyu Diwil Zogan.
Deyu Diwil Zogan. Deyu Diwil Zogan.
Ndeu Diwil Zogan. Indeu Diwil Zogan.
And Dayu Diwazogan. And Dayu Diwazogan.
Indeyu D will Zogan.
Indeyu Diwal Zogan.
Indeu Diwil Zogan.
Indeyu D will Zogan.
Ndeyu Diwil Zogan.
All right, so now you've asked me the question, I'm gonna tell you where I live. And so now, we talked about this a little bit earlier with, actually, we didn't talk about it, but we experienced this earlier when we were talking about my name. So we talked a lot about the N sound, meaning me talking to one person, and the SM meaning talking to a group of people. This is, I'm talking about myself. Dagu means I live. So when I answer the question, I'll say, Zuno diwo Dagu. Zuno diwo Dagu. I live in Juno.
Juno, Diwol Zogu. Juno, Diwol Zogu.
Suri Divil Zagu. Suri Divil Zagu.
Samix Diwil Vancouver Diwil Zogu.
Zuno,
Nikiski diwil zogu. Nikiski diwil zogu.
whoops, Zuno de Wazagu. Zuno de Wazagu.
Maui Diwotzoku.
Tacoma Diwilzogu.
Auburn, Diwilzogu.
Vancouver Diwil Zogu.
Mooresville, Diwil Zogu.
Oh, and Zebson. And so if we did earlier, like I said, and you dragged the O sound out, and if I said Juno diwo dogu, that changes the meaning. So I should say Zuno diwo dogu, but if I said dogu, it would be like I'm embarrassed or ashamed. So we want to be careful that we don't accidentally stand up in front of a room full of speakers and tell them you're embarrassed about where you live. So it's Dogu versus Dogu. So let's just remember that. All right, here's a nice greeting. If you are growing weary of trying to remember how to say Amagaudi Sulyach for good afternoon, you can just say Amasa. Amasa. And this is a phrase, and sa means day. So Amasa.
Emma Sa. Emma Sa.
Amasa. Amasa.
Amasa. Amasa.
Amasa. Amasa.
Amasha. Amasha.
Amasha. Amasha.
Amasha.
Amasa.
Amasa.
So, but it's morning time. Earlier, we talked about the underlying G or the back G, and that's like in the kind of in the back of your throat, and then the And we have another unique sound here, this barred L or this unvoiced L. And then we have the two A's together. So we're squeezing a whole bunch of unique Sm'algya sounds together in this one. And even though on paper or on Pixel it looks a little intimidating, with a little practice, this becomes a pretty natural word. So it's Emma Gunschlacht. Emma Gunschlacht. Gunschlacht.
Emma Gunschlack. Emma Gunschlack.
Amaganglak. Amaganglak.
Amaganslach. Amaganslach.
Amaganschlag. Amaganschlag.
Amagantlach. Amagantlach.
Amagantlak.
Amaganslach.
Amagantlach.
And another greeting. We're talking about evening. Now this is after afternoon, but it's not really like late at night. This is evening. And we do have that apostrophe, that stop sound. So we're saying Amahupo. Amahupo. So you hear just a slight stop, a little breath in between hoop and wool. Hupo. Amahupo.
Emma Hupo. Emma Hupo.
Emma Hopo. Emma Hopo.
Amahupal. Amahupal.
Amahupal. Amahupal.
Amahupal. Amahupal.
Amahupo.
Amahupal.
Amahupal.
And this looks like a mouthful. This has some interesting looking letters together. And so in Sm'algya, we don't say goodbye. We have indim, algik, algik. When you see two eyes together in Sm'algya, it sounds like e, e. In the Malgik Needsen. In the Malgik Needsen.
In the Malgik Needsen. In the Malgik Needsen.
And the magic Nielsen. And the magic Nielsen.
Indemaliak Needsen. Indemaliak Needsen.
Indem Alyak Needsen. Indem Alyak Needsen.
Endomalgic Needsen. Endomalgic Needsen.
Indem aljak needsen.
Indem algat needsum.
Indem algic needsen.
Indem algic needsen.
And just want to let you know that I'll see you again. I want to tell you, take care of yourself. Take care. In this case, take care. Take care of yourself. Gilks Amaniskin. Gilks Amaniskin.
Gilks Amaniskin. Gilks Amaniskin.
Gilks Amaniskin. Gilks Amaniskin.
Gilk amaniskin. Gilk amaniskin.
Gilks Amaniskin. Gilks Amaniskin.
Gilks Amaniskin. Gilks Amaniskin.
Gilks Amanidsen.
Gilks amaniskin.
Gilks amaniskin.
Gilks amaniskin.
Some M's up in Devon. Okay, so you'll often hear us say this to each other in class. We start with this barred L sound again. And then the two O's together, we talked about, make the O sound. And then the I's together make the E sound. Shlemomi. Shlemomi.
Shlemomi. Shlemomi.
Himomi. Himomi.
Shlemomi. Shlemomi.
Shlemomi. Shlemomi.
Shimomi. Shimomi.
Shlemomi. Shlemomi.
Shlemomi.
Shlemomi.
Shlemomi.
So this is kind of a neat one. I was told it's kind of a slangy way to say this. I was told when I first learned this that you have to shrug your shoulders when you say it. So we have a ho, e with the stops. Ho, e.
Ihoi. Ihoi.
Hihoi. Hihoi.
Ihohi. Ihoi.
Iholi. Ihohi.
Ihoi.
Ihohi.
Ihoi.
Ihoi.
Now here's a little more proper way to say this, that you don't know something. Earlier we talked about akidi and ashkidi for not, or the opposite of something. In this case, there's this N in the middle of it. And earlier when I said DYU, I'm saying my name, that U refers to my own self. In this case, the N does the same thing. This means I don't something. Akidi with the N, akindi. Willide. The root word here, willai, means to know something. And this T has sort of the same function that the N or the SM or the U does, only this is talking about either an object, a thing, or a third person, a he, she, they. If we use this in the context of somebody says, what's that thing over there? You don't know what that thing is. So you can say, Akandi will like, I don't know it. I don't know it, whatever it is. Oh, I really don't know it now. Akandi will light. Akandi will light.
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 Akandi will light.
Akandi will light.
Akandi will light.
Akandi will light.
Oh, man, something. Iowa.
Akandi will light.
Yeah. Another phrase that we often use in this language group, if you hear somebody say something in Sm'algya and you don't know what it means, you can say, gosh na how do, and let's say maybe the word that Hookieans throwing around is hatlita, and I can't remember what's hatlita, so I'll say the Hookieans, gosh na how do hatlita. How do hatlita. And this is again in the case of you heard a Semitic thing that you don't know what it means and you want to know. So if I said to Hookieans, how do hatlita.
Chair. Gof na how do pass. Gof na how do pass.
Look, now how do,
Goth na how do deuce.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're waiting on Molly, and sorry if we got confusing with what it is we're asking. So I told Hookieans to just say gosh na how to hash, and hash is dog. So we heard some other examples. So good job, improvising. So let's go ahead and move on. Start with Nancy.
Goth na how do miyu.
Goth na how do wads.
Goth knew how to ta.
Goes na how do gooper.
Gosh na how do so.
Gosh na how do shigop.
Gosh na how do we pouch.
Goth na how do moms.
All right, I'm Zubsum. I'm really impressed and tickled with all the improv that we had today. Oh, you guys rock. All right, now let's go the other way around though. So let's say you saw this really nice jacket and you really like this jacket and you want to ask your mom to go buy it at the store for you, but you don't know what is our word for jacket. So you could say, gosh, Willa, Ike Sadu, and then there's a blank there for whatever the object, the English word or phrase is. In this case, jacket, a Sm'algya. So it's gosh, Willa, Ike Sadu, jacket, a Sm'algya. Gosh, Willa, Ike Sadu, jacket, a Sm'algya. And my intention was for everybody to use jacket, but if you want to improv through this one again, I just had a great time, so.
Goth willa aixadu jacket Sm'algyax. Goth willa aixadu jacket Sm'algyax.
Gach willa Aixidu friend a Sm'algya. Gach willa Aixidu friend a Sm'algya.
Both willa Aixidu smartphone as Somalia. Both willa Aixidu smartphone as Somalia.
Gosh willa Axidu jacket a Sm'algyax.
Goth will Aixadu car a Sm'algya.
Goth Willa Aixadu Walker Somalia.
Goth willa Aixadu jacket Somalia.
Gosh willa Aixadu jacket Sm'algya.
Goth willa Aixidu train as Sm'algya.
Goth willa Aixadu get down Somalia.
Gosh willa Aixadu tarp Somalia.
Goth willa Aixadu scissors as Sm'algya.
All right, the last one on our list. This is one of my favorites. When I was a lad growing up, I heard Waiwa a lot. Waiwa. I always heard it in terms of let's go. Like my uncle would say, Waiwa, like let's go. It's time to go. At basketball games, I'd hear it like as an encouragement. Waiwa, let's go. When I started taking classes, I would hear it like an okay, or or let's proceed. It's kind of it's got a lot of uses. And then it just cracked me up one time when I heard recordings of first language fluent speakers saying Waiwa, and I was like, I was hanging on this. I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he said, okay now. So this has lots of different uses. I will often end my messages on the Facebook or what have you with this to either to encourage folks or, because I'm plugging whatever it is I have to say. So it's Waiwa, Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa. Waiwa.
Waiwa.
Waiwa.
Waiwa.
Waiwa.
Waiwa.
Waiwa. Can I say one more use of Waiwa that I didn't know until I worked with fluent speakers?
Oh,
Is-
Waiwa.
To hang up, to say that the conversation is over when you're on the phone with them. For a long time, I would listen closer because I would think, oh, they're going to tell me something really important because they just got it. And then they'd hang up.
Oh,
No, I wanted to add to that, Michael, when I talked to Aunt Ruth, at the end, she'd say, why, what? And then I'd keep talking and then I'm, hello? Hello? It was gone.
Every now and again, we have to cancel our session with with Teresa, and I'll message her and explain and everything, and she'll just answer with Waiwa, like, all right then, kind of thing. Or yeah, hang up the phone. Even just somebody tells you news and you're acknowledging that you've heard something's going to happen. You say, oh, why what? Yeah, it's an interesting word. I love it.
And was that everybody who wanted to say that one? Why, oh, what? Okay, Dykes Newsom.
One more.
Oh, Dykes.
I did. Why, what?
Zubsum. Oh, okay, so thank you, everybody. That's this document that we've been using this and tweaking a little bit over the months. We do have some pretty new learners with us, so I wanted to spend some time going over this very basic vocabulary, mainly not only to introduce those, but to give everybody a chance to say them. Because the best way to become a speaker of Sm'algya is to use it. And we might not all have somebody to hang out with in a conference room to speak with. So this is our chance to use it together. So thank you, everybody who used your voices to practice today. I gotta admit, it really did my heart good to hear everybody. I had a couple of humorous and touching moments in just hearing you all. Dykes Newsom, thank you all